Heal Your Home with Jason Ratcliffe.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Heal Your Home. We're going to be exploring all things new tech and how this can enhance the well-being of your home for you and your family. I will also be speaking to Rhodri McAtee on all things drones. I have a great listener question in regards to how to utilise smart tech to help reduce your utility bills, and an amazing Tenant Top Tip. But first, let's talk tech. So, new tech, and what does it mean for our homes within the UK? Well, to be honest, there is such a plethora of new tech out there that there is so much to look for. And if you're not a nerd or you don't understand tech, where do you begin? And to be honest with you, it really depends on your budget, what you're looking for, and what you're looking to achieve out of the tech that you're looking to purchase. Let's go with the thermostats, for example. So you can have smart thermostats such as Hive. These are one of many that you can have. These tend to have app-based facilities, so you can then have them on your smart devices or your smartphones and then connect with them anywhere around. So you can then, if you're on the way home from work, for example, you can make sure that your home is ready for you in a comfortable living temperature prior to you getting home, so you then don't have that awkward moment where you're flicking the heating on and then there's that kind of half hour to an hour before it warms. There is research out there that does suggest significant impacts on energy saving, on just turning down your temperature by 1 degree can have a massive saving on your cost of living and your bills, your energy bills. So by doing that and having such control is amazing. So I think any smart meters will save you a huge amount of money. These tend to cost anywhere between £50 up to sort of £200, depending on how lavish you want to go with the tech. But to be honest with you, the ones in the middle at about £80 will do the absolute job that you need it to do. And as well as that, looking at things like smart plugs, this is really good for security as well. So you can then put your lights on when you're away, so and open and close blinds and curtains and things like that, so you can actually then mimic as if you're home, so you can feel like your security in your home is being done for you without having very expensive security systems. There's a lot of elderly generations now adapting to new technologies, new smart technologies, and they're able to easily deal with this kind of technology. So it doesn't have to just be the young, youthful generations, and it gives that extra type of safety precaution as well, because obviously vulnerable people in homes, they will need that extra level of contact, potentially with family members. So rather than if you have, say for example, children that are looking in on you, and you're elderly, rather than them worrying about you constantly, or if you've got one of those emergency pull cords, which a lot of elderly people don't necessarily want to be using all the time, or may not have access to if there's an emergency, or they just generally forget. These things happen. It happens in my family, and I know a lot of people it can happen to, and it's a worry. It is a genuine worry. So therefore, when you're looking at these smart technologies, you can integrate very cheaply into a home. You can check in, you can liaise and collaborate and communicate and work with these vulnerable people in your family to make sure that you're not invading their privacy, but also you're there for them. They can feel safe in their home, but also you can feel safe that you're there for them. So if they need you, or they are in a state of emergency or trouble, you can very quickly see them wherever you are, if you're at work, wherever you are, and therefore then you can either get to them or you can raise emergency call so somebody can be there for them. It's very, very quick, and it's affordable nowadays, and especially with a huge vast amount of the UK having access to super fast internet. Not where I am, unfortunately, but where, and the majority of the UK has super fast internet, but at least basic internet, enough to be able to run smart technology and web cameras, and without lagging or crashing for the most part. Now, things like Alexas and Siris and Googles and Home Hubs, these are almost becoming the brains of the house, and they're not quite there, but they are getting to the point where they can become the brain of the house, which is going to be super exciting for new tech in well-being. So they can start having temperature controls within rooms. So actually we have sensors within rooms where we can look at controlling individual zones. So not only just central heating systems, we can then incorporate zoned heating, which can then adapt to individual needs. So if we have vulnerable people, or if we have young babies, for example, in nurseries, and then we have other people that might prefer colder environments, we then don't have to adapt, or we don't have a universal temperature through the whole of the property. We can now start adapting that environment, because we have individual control systems in place because of this new or central brain, I suppose, for a property. And now that's integrating in with more and more smart tech, so it's becoming more and more clever. So these are all things that are to come, and it's an exciting time to be able to look at how these smart devices are all going to be integrating together, and how they're going to be populating and formulating affordable methods for going forward. So yeah, absolutely watch this space, and as these episodes in this series on this podcast continue, we will absolutely continue reviewing these smart technologies. We will be looking at answering any listener questions on this, and also it's going to be a fantastic and exciting development, really, to see how all of these kind of bits of technology evolve and integrate together moving forward in the future.
Heal your home with Jason Ratcliffe.
I've had the great pleasure of speaking to Rhodri McAtee from Scaffold, talking all things drones. Let's hear what he has to say. Why don't you give our audience a little bit of an introduction?
Yep. So my name is Rhodri McAtee. I'm a associate RICS surveyor, residential surveyor, and RICS registered valuer. Background in extensive property management, working for corporate and local independents, as well as now being invested in a residential surveying software company that helps surveyors provide a cracking service for their clients.
Do you want to delve a little bit deeper into your passions of kind of how tech or how tech is developing within the built environment and kind of within your world of surveying?
The key takeaway was it will never replace a surveyor and the competencies and experience as a surveyor. But what it can do is it can make life easier, whether it be as a tool or help identifying things that you can elaborate on and such like that. But I mean, there's so many different areas of innovation and technology in the kind of surveying sector now, such as, I mean, the company that I've invested in obviously is the software, but also there's loads of other things like, drones, helping the surveyor actually give greater detail within their reports and inform the clients more so as to their findings and what they're buying and how they might need to do bits and bobs when they move in.
Absolutely, and you've nicely kind of introduced into the topic really of drones there. So, kind of, it's a newish topic in surveying and in the built environment. Obviously, it's been around for a while now, but kind of seeping into more and more sectors. So, from your experience, what do you think it's kind of giving to surveyors, but also to homeowners and developers, in the sense of, I suppose, more of a broader spectrum of insight into a building's condition?
Yeah, I mean, first thing, I used to hate it when I ended up writing a report for someone and it was just full of limitations. I can't see the roof for this reason. I can't see the hidden valley gutters. I can't see the gutter behind a chimney. Because, a client pays you a lot of money to complete a report and give them the best picture of a property, they're probably spending the most amount of money they've ever spent on. The ability to fly a drone up, it's a simple kind of option, weather dependent, obviously. Also living in West Cornwall, we don't always get that, but you can get a properly good photo of the roof and look at all the areas that you possibly wouldn't see if you didn't have it, which helps you follow that trail back. So if you did see that there was daylight in the roof, for example, or there was water ingress on a chimney breast or something like that, you don't have to say, oh, my inspection was limited to binoculars and ground level. You can physically go up there with a drone and get all in around the chimney, see the flaunching, see the chimney pots, see the hidden valley gutters, see the ridge tiles, all these different bits and bobs, which helps you follow that trail back and actually give a complete picture of the construction and condition of the property.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from a homeowner's perspective, if they were to, because there are a lot of people that listen to this that like doing it themselves, what's your advice in respect of if they wanted to go and get a drone? Sort of, I know obviously that there's a multitude of licenses, approvals, insurances that might need, to be got hold of if you're getting bigger drones, but to make it super simple, what are the do's and don'ts, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, there is loads of license. The bigger the drone you get, the more license you need. There is kind of like a weight category. So if you get one below 250 grams, for example, you're slightly less regulated, but obviously it's less of a drone. They're also cheaper, but you still get the quality from them. But they're kind of the do's and don'ts. Do obviously have fun with it because they are good fun. They're really simple to use. As much as I like tech, I sometimes struggle. I'm a bad driver, but I can fly my drone perfectly well.
I suppose moving into cities, in hypothetical areas, if you're looking at places where you can fly a drone in an environment, if you have a tower block, for example, areas that otherwise you could have, cherry pickers or scaffolding, things that would require permits and or excessive costs, they could essentially be completely kind of gotten rid of if you've got a decent drone, which you can then fly up and do kind of, tower block drone scans and things like that. I think. What are your takes on?
I do block management, and I manage a number of blocks on behalf of the freeholder and general maintenance, silly things, minor details like checking gutters, which if you left unchecked can really deteriorate a building. But it's a simple job knowing when to do it. Flying a drone up, seeing the conditions of the gutters, seeing the conditions of the roof, looking at the boundaries and stuff like that. It's really easy just to whip a drone up, have a look down, particularly in more you start getting 6, 7, 8, 9 floor kind of blocks of flats and stuff like that. It helps with all kinds of issues and being able to identify areas. And it's just a really useful tool to help everyday tasks that are quite simple, but it just takes out a limitation or restriction and helps just actually produce the report said to the client that you're going to produce.
Thank you so much. I know how busy you are. Is there anything else in this kind of chat about drones, I suppose, that you'd want to put in?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got a drone. I love a drone. I use it for work, obviously, but I also use it as a hobby. But the big thing is, if you're buying one, do your research first. Make sure you know where you can and can't fly. Make sure you have the right permissions. Depending on what you get, make sure you have the right licenses and so on and so forth as well. That's my main takeaway, but I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a surveyor. Like you said, I would say it's becoming an essential part of the toolkit, depending on where you live and depending on the kind of sector of surveying you work within.
Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Perfect. Pleasure. Take care.
And now, a listener question for Heal Your Home.
The listener question for this week's episode is actually a really good one, and I've been asked it around the country quite a lot lately, and that is from Gareth in Exmouth. How can smart technology help reduce energy bills in your home? And to be honest, I want to do an episode on this alone because the answer is so in depth that it's going to take way more than just a listener question section of one episode. But to answer it in this, smart thermostats is a fantastic way. It can help optimize the comfortable living temperature, which typically is between 18 to 22 degrees in a home. Energy Savings Trust have done recent research in the sense that they've said typically 10% on energy bills can be saved if you reduce your temperature on the thermostat by 1 degree. So that is a significant saving alone just on a thermostat, and you can control that quite significantly using smart tech, but also more sort of smart plugs and looking at solar panels, optimization of when high energy consumption products are used, such as tumble dryers, things like that. Or if you have vehicles charging, electrical vehicle points, they can then use solar panels, so they can optimize using off-grid means of getting that electric as well. If you get smart meters correctly installed on the right tariff, then they can do wonders, because you can then monitor and track high energy outputs when you're using a lot of energy, and then you can then potentially curve those back and use kind of almost corrective behavior, or potentially channel those areas to areas if you have solar panels, for example, and then you can charge appliances or do things that have higher energy outputs when you have more optimal levels of energy input. So for example, keep relating back to solar panels, but air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, things that are charging or that have optimal spike levels in the day. As well as that, you can then have things like smart appliances, which can then turn on in the day. So they can, for example, washing machines can activate at certain points in the day. So therefore, you don't even have to be there to activate them. That's a really fantastic way of making sure that you're as much off-grid as possible. And if you have peak time tariffs, things like that. So if you have optimal cheaper time tariffs, which can then make things a little bit cheaper for you. So I hope that helps. But I definitely want to delve into this in future episodes in more detail.
Jason's Tenant Top Tip.
Our tenant top tip for this week's episode of Heal Your Home is, are there any financial incentives for landlords to go green? And yes, there are. Obviously, within October of 2024, we are going to be having a new release of grants and updates from the government within the UK. So this may well change by the time that this publishes and goes live. However, upon recording, there are various out there on the government scheme, and there are various options which are eligible for tenants to then have in collaboration with landlords. But obviously, I stress this enough, tenants must have the landlord's permission, but tenants do have the right to obviously ask the landlords to have these incentives and further things undertaken, such as insulation upgrades, because obviously they do have the right to have a comfortable and reduced living costs within their homes. But there are things like the winter savings grants out there, renovation or retrospective cavity infill, loft insulation, upgrades to boilers, double glazing grant schemes. They update all the time, and they will update again within the October budget. So go onto the website, or the government funds website, regularly updates, and keep an eye on what is out there. But there is multitude of grants and incentives out there for both landlords and tenants to work together. But the tenant top tip this week is tenants do have the right to ask landlords, and there are schemes out there and incentives to ensure that homes can have improved improvements undertaken, and to ensure that they are energy efficient and they do not cost the earth, to make sure that a home is comfortable to live in.
Heal your home with Jason Ratcliffe.
Check out the website at homehealthexpert.co.uk for more information, to check out the services that we can help with for you and your family and improve your home's health, and also for the top tip guides that we have available for you. You can submit listener questions through our website and also by emailing our team at info@homehealthexpert.co.uk or by searching for Home Health Expert on Instagram and Facebook. We will try our absolute best to get round to your questions and help your family out to improve your home's health. Don't forget to subscribe to Heal Your Home wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube if you're watching along. Thanks again for listening, it really does mean a lot. We could not do this without you, and in actual fact it would be completely pointless. So please send in your questions, and I look forward to you joining me in the next episode of Heal Your Home. Your health, your future, it all starts here.